Welcome everybody to Appy Hour. This is a special three-part deep dive into Right Networks. And so this is the part one of going through how to transition to Right Networks and become a remote workforce using Right Networks for your QuickBooks desktop clients. So with that being said, Heather, you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. So I'm Heather Satterley. I think I know most of you. If I don't know you, I have a firm here in lovely Rhode Island. I actually have a couple of firms here in lovely Rhode Island. So I'm Satterley Training and Consulting, where I help accounting professionals and small businesses to automate their processes. So I specialize in process automation. And then I also have Back Office Ally, which is a bookkeeping and tax firm that helps small businesses keep their books tidy and also make sure that they stay compliant with the IRS. So that's me.
Very busy, yeah. And I'm your bud who just gets to hang out with you. No. So I'm Liz Scott, got a firm in Oklahoma, and I do a lot of the same things. I work with small businesses to be able to set them up in QuickBooks or clean up their QuickBooks and then support them. And so a lot of the things that I do is work with e-commerce businesses. I like doing the complicated scenarios with connecting the integrations, and e-commerce businesses have a lot of integration opportunities. So very fun. I love those mysteries and problems. And so we want to thank Right Networks today for joining us, because they're going to be walking us through how to host these QuickBooks desktop clients and make sure that we have really good collaboration with our clients. So joining us today is Kevin Russa. Do you want to tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Liz. Kevin Russa here with Right Networks, the Director of Sales. I manage a couple of sales teams there and have been with the company for roughly 12 years now. So seen a lot and enjoy working with firms and longtime customers like Lori and Jeff, and really helping folks get those desktop clients into an environment where they can service them and work with them more efficiently. So happy to be here.
That's fantastic. Yeah. And you know, I don't know that many people know it, but you've got this accounting background.
I do. Yeah. I mean, I've done my best to understand the accounting world and small, medium businesses that utilize us. And I am here that, you know, I'm very encouraged to help people through this time and walk people through it. We're very busy right now, as you guys can imagine. So a lot of folks getting on the cloud and needing remote access that haven't necessarily gotten around to this part of their business before. So totally here to help and really gonna enjoy the conversation today for sure.
Definitely. And then Jeff and Lori, do you want to give us just a brief hello and what you do?
Sure. So Jeff Siegel, I have a practice. Laura and I work together at Siegel Solutions, and we're in the Boston area. And we've been doing kind of what Heather and Liz do: bookkeeping, QuickBooks consulting, setting up companies on QuickBooks, QBO, QBD, trying to find third-party apps for them. And we have a staff of about 15, and we have been on Right Networks probably since 2005, I think even before Kevin started there. So we were a very early adopter of Right Networks. Laura, I don't know if you want to add anything to that?
That at all. I was going to say, when Kevin said 12 years, I was thinking, oh my gosh, I remember when he started.
So Lori and Jeff they've joined us today, and they are happy to answer any questions, specific questions that you might have about their experience, both, you know, getting started with Right Networks, getting clients onboarded, and using Right Networks. So they're going to be watching the chat and the Q&A panel and helping out to answer those questions throughout our hour together today. So thank you so much, Lori and Jeff, for joining us and for doing that for all of our awesome viewers.
You're very welcome.
Yeah.
I know they really, really appreciate it. So we're going to be talking about this part one with transitioning to this Right Networks remote workforce. And so getting started is where we're going to begin. And whenever we're looking at this entire journey that we're going to be going through, you can see we've got this three-part series laid out. So transitioning is part one, which we're going to be working through today. And then that, the thing that's really important whenever you're thinking about where do you start, this is laying the foundation. And so that foundation that you're putting in place is really key to being able to then go into part 2, because you want to optimize this tool that's in front of you. So if you understand how that foundation works, then you're able to take a hold of it and go, now I can run with it. I can use it every day. I can tell my clients how to use it every day. And so that's what we're doing today. We're laying that really nice concrete foundation. And so next we'll be able to go into part 2, which will be same time, same place next week. And we'll go through the optimization of your workforce. So what's the day in the life of? And so it'll be training your work staff and yourself, and then also your client, how to use Right Networks. And then part 3 is going to be how to be one of these super users, just like Jeff and Lori. How do you, transition all of your clients over into Right Networks? How do you make sure that they understand how to connect their apps, and make sure that whenever you're having these meetings with your clients, instead of doing catch-up work with your clients and they're sharing their big folders of data with you, instead of having those kind of meetings, you're saying, okay, we've already got that. We're working real time in a hosted area. Now we're actually working on real problems. So that part 3 is going to be all about advanced troubleshooting and tips with Right Networks. So let's get started. So we're establishing the Right Network structure. And this is where we want to get started. We want to look at, where do you begin? So an introduction to Right Networks. I would assume that a lot of people that are with us today in this part 1 really want to kind of know, tell me about Right Networks. You're saying it's a hosting of what? So that's kind of where we're going to begin. And then setting up your firm. So now you want to be able to put your firm up into the hosted environment, so that way you can move your clients there. So you're creating a house. So first you got to move the house, and then you put your clients inside the house, and then you put your licenses inside it. And then next you've got to figure out what are your packages and your users going to look like, and some best practices. And then you've got some billing options. And this is really nice whenever I'm thinking about who's going to pay for my subscriptions with my clients. I like to be able to decide, is this a client that I'm going to be working with and it makes sense for me to be the one who pays for their license? Or is this somebody that just really needs me to help set them up in Right Networks, and they should actually be the ones who are responsible for their own billing? So we'll go through that. And then lastly, we'll have some Q&A at the end. So oh goodness, it seems like my mouse is just kind of clicking happy today. So getting started. So we're going to do an introduction to Right Networks. There's a lot of desktop clients out there, guys. So, sometimes we hear, all about QuickBooks Online, but there's still all of these people who truly want to stay in desktop, and they need to be able to be collaborating with us. So these people still need help. And we are doing that via Right Networks hosted solution. So that way we can have this really good client collaboration with them. And what that looks like is we've got this anytime access to them. We can have this, their apps, we can host those up in the cloud. And I love this slide later that's coming. I know it's all about. And so it's this, how many apps are available in Right Networks? So if you've got a question about it, I bet you, if you put it in chat, here's the app that I've got a question about. There's a lot of them out there that are hosted by Right Networks. So if you got a question, just throw it in chat and we'll get somebody to help answer that.
Yeah, and I just want to chime in. I know we were talking with Lori and Jeff last Friday. We're not talking about hosting 1 or 2 QuickBooks desktop companies in the cloud. We're talking about hosting an entire firm of QuickBooks desktop companies in the cloud. Jeff, you had mentioned that you have over 150.
Yeah, we have
clients.
150 clients, and a bunch of those clients have different apps that we have access to also.
Yeah.
So our whole firm, all our desktop clients are basically on Right Networks, and then we use Right Networks as a tool also. If we need to work on a file that maybe they're not even hosted for whatever reason, a project, we'll throw it up on Right Networks, use our QuickBooks programs up there, and then bring it down and send it off to a client if we have like a one-time project for someone who's on a desktop product. So,
right.
Yeah.
Can I add to that real quickly? We also use Right Networks as our server. So we all are able to work remotely and have our shared server be up on the cloud with Right Networks.
Nice.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
So it's this place where everybody can work together, internal and external.
Yeah, we have firm folders up there that only we see as a firm. You know, our clients don't see any of that stuff because the clients only see their own data. But we could see all their stuff as well as our own folders that we as a firm use. So it's
And
great.
that's one of those things that we're going to cover whenever we're going through some of the folder structure, not in this episode, but that's a really good point, Jeff, is that being able to understand what your clients have access to, because we're very data sensitive. And so we want to make sure that we know what is it that we can see, which is essentially everything, and what is it that our clients can see. And so there's drives in Right Networks. And so just like you have a C drive, you have a Right Networks drive. And so you're able to have your data stored there.
Yeah.
Great point.
Yeah, I think Siegel Solutions is one of those customers, that leverages our solution. A lot of people come to us because of their desktop clients and they want to find a home for them. But then, a lot of firms take it to the next level after they've used us for a while and actually use it as a full collaboration tool, not just for their clients, but with all their top level firm users as well, right? So it's a file storage solution. It's an online application hosting platform. And, you can leverage it with clients that don't even need to access the cloud, just like Jeff said. And a lot of firms get there, but when they initially think about us, it's not what they're envisioning using us for, which is interesting.
Right. I mean, we have folders that are even locked down to certain people in the firm.
Yep.
Not the whole firm. So we could take a folder and call it, firm management, which we have one, and Laurie has access to it. I have access to it. Another person. That's it. So you can use it as your own server. That's what it becomes. So it's not just a hosting platform. It's a lot more. We have Outlook on there because we have Office 365, so we can get our email from there. We don't have to go to. We could, obviously, we can log in from anywhere and get our email, Excel, click the OneDrive, see everything. So you're basically using it as a full server.
It goes to that thing where, man, saying that we want to make sure that we're always protecting our clients because we have access to all of their employee Social Security numbers, their contractor, federal ID numbers, all of those things, those sensitive pieces of data, when you're storing it in a hosted environment like that we know is secure.
Right. I mean, most of the times, most of the time, these data centers, like Right Networks, they have better security than we would have in our own office. We don't have the budget to be probably on top of everything that's happening on a regular basis with cybersecurity and all the hackers and ransomware out there. So I'd rather put it in the hands of a Right Networks than my own server in a back room somewhere.
That's a great point, Jeff, because especially for firms that are smaller or just starting out, they can't afford to sink their money into a really complicated server, desktop server infrastructure. So this gives them an best of class, right, at an affordable cost too.
Yeah,
totally.
Yep. Anne was just saying the exact same thing, that was the digital file cabinet for quite a while. So, essentially the idea is that if anybody ever stole your computer, they wouldn't get any, client sensitive data. It's hosted.
Yeah, right.
There's nothing stored on your computer.
Yep.
That's the goal there.
And I think, the backup solution too is key, right? Like when you're storing things on our systems, it's not only secure, we're taking care of it for you, but it's being backed up on a nightly basis as well too. So it's interesting how many users utilize us for personal storage and business storage, right? They have multiple drives. So anything that's personal to them that they really, is important and they want to keep it backed up and keep it secure and be able to access it from any device, they'll pop that in their personal drives too as well. So interesting stuff.
Another thing that happened just last night, I had a client file that was corrupt. And so it was doing, I could see it was doing some odd behavior, and I could not get the backup of the data. But I knew that even though I couldn't get a backup of the data, even though I was going to be working in it, if I needed to, there is a backup that if I needed to call and say, hey, I need this file, I could. So you brought it up, Kevin, so I had to throw that in there, that my last night experience made me say, that's a really nice feature to have. So I'm going to move over into some of our Right Networks features and just kind of have this overview, and I'll let you just kind of talk to that, Kevin.
Yeah, for sure. So, we've been around for about 18 years now, started in 2002, and just explosive growth. I mean, QBO has been growing a lot, but there is, like you guys said, a ton of desktop customers out there, and a lot of small, medium businesses that are on desktop and haven't either explored the QBO option or are just trying to figure out a way to keep the software they have and access it remotely and access it in a secured environment. So really explosive growth since then. We're up to about 350 employees. We have multiple offices all over the place. We acquired a couple companies, Transaction Pro and Eccentric, and Autify is another one that came under the Right Networks umbrella. So that spans out to about 3 SOC 1 and 2 data centers. You guys mentioned security, and it would be astronomical cost for a small, medium business or a firm to rent space like that in a data center and establish things themselves. So we like to give, enterprise class security for a fraction of the cost, right? So that's part of the point that Heather was making earlier. We are 100% accounting focused. So you guys are our customers. Our firms are the lifeblood of our business. And then they in turn, essentially bring clients and small, medium businesses on board. So there's about 3,000 CPA firms underneath kind of our umbrella there. And then there's, underneath them, essentially 160,000 users that access our platform regularly. So doing this on a really large scale. And, in addition to QuickBooks, we have 300 plus connected and integrated business applications. Now, when Jeff and Lori started with us, that was probably like 2 or 3. And we built that application directory based off of customer demand, right? So these are customers reaching out to us and saying, hey, I need this application, or have you guys checked out these guys? They integrate with QuickBooks. And we've really tried to build an ecosystem of not only the market leaders, but the most reputable companies in each industry and in each kind of vertical that integrate with QuickBooks that we can host on our systems that our clients need. So that's a constant growing, live thing that we're always working on, and we're probably testing new applications monthly, right, to get up on the system. So that number is always growing there.
Yeah, Kevin, I just want to add real quick, because being a customer, Right Networks is very cautious about any app that they put on their system. We've gone through that multiple times.
Right there. Yeah, talking about apps.
Yeah. So they will test it for a long time to make sure that it's going to work in the environment. They're not going to throw something up there that may not function well. So, I mean, I think it's great that they do that. So that's all I wanted to add.
If it's a good point, I mean, it's a double-edged sword, right? Because we're not 150% flexible, even though Jeff would want me to get an app up in a day. It takes time to test, and our QA team is not messing around, and we do that for the safety of you guys. And the more firms kind of get that concept, they're better with it. But I would be weary of a company where you just gave them an application, they threw it up within a day, didn't test it and look at it. That would be a red flag to me. But yeah, it's a good call out.
I agree. So I think that what I'm going to do right now, we have a lot to go through about setting up your firm. So I think, Kevin, at this point, I'm going to stop sharing, let you share, because there's so much here that I know that we've got people that are joined us that want to be able to see how to do it.
All right, let me see here. I can talk about technology solutions, but I'm not super savvy. So let me just get this. All right, cool. So setting up your firm. You guys see that?
We do. And then you probably want to go in. There you go. And
I'm with it. So some of the common questions that come up in the sales process when we're discussing with a firm how to get going, there's a few kind of terminology things that we utilize on a regular basis that's helpful for firms to understand as they go and have these conversations with their clients after the fact. One of them is packages. So I have a slide later that outlines the individual packages and what's involved with each, but a package is something that's associated with a user, And that's what gives you or enables the cloud hosted desktop. So the virtual PC, so to speak, that people are accessing in the cloud, you need to associate a package with a user in order to have that access. So the package is actually what you're essentially buying from us and what we bill for on a monthly basis. And then users are essentially, the next one down, are folks that are set up underneath the firm that have individual roles. And we'll get into those a little bit later too, but users can be anybody from the bookkeeper that logs in, or the person running the firm, the accounting admin, and or maybe just support users. Not all users need a package, so you actually can just be a user without a package. You won't have access to the host environment, but you could call in on behalf of the firm or be like a named user for support or a billing admin. But if anybody wants the actual hosted desktop infrastructure and all the stuff we're talking about, data storage and backup, you would want to associate a package with those users. The base package at the bottom there is QuickBooks Desktop Cloud. I'll go through them after, but there's 3 standard packages that we offer. And it essentially, the base one comes with pretty much everything we've discussed: securities within all the packages, backups, anytime, anywhere access, and then it allows you to host your QuickBooks Desktop software with us. And we'll get into the options of how you can utilize the software, bring the software to us, or buy it. But that's kind of the base desktop that's included, and support 24/7 is included with every user. So no matter what time of day it is, you call us, and there's folks right here in New Hampshire that are readily available to answer calls. So support's a big differentiator, but included in all the packages. So if we're going to start with setting up your firm, get a couple screenshots here just to kind of walk folks through the flow of ordering online. You can utilize Right Networks or acquire the Right Networks subscription via our website. You can go there and key things in. The majority of our sales do come from folks working with consultants on my sales team. So those guys can walk you through how to get set up, how to create what we call kind of the parent organization, and then we'll talk about it after. But children organizations are really the clients. So parents can see everything, like Jeff and Siegel Solutions can see everything, and then they have individual kind of child accounts that are set up below them. So this is to create the overall parent account. You walk through, you can select your packages on the amount of users you need, and then it gets into a little bit of licensing and whether you're bringing your own license, buying your own license, or leasing a license. And I'll get into those options, I think, on a slide coming up here. But essentially, it's a full kind of checkout window, and you enter all your billing information, and it's all online. And then it is a monthly subscription, so no long-term contracts. We don't lock folks into long-term contracts. We're not a cell phone company. We want to make sure that we're here and flexible for you guys. And we do offer a 30-day money-back guarantee as well, too. So. And then once you check out, you essentially then create your subscription with us. And then what happens next is really onboarding, right? So getting those firm users into the cloud, getting them utilizing our platform. This can happen via their individual systems, which are Macs and or Windows, right? So we work with both platforms, and about 39% of our users are Macs. We see a ton of Mac users that are looking to access the PC version of QuickBooks right from their Mac. So there is a Right Network setup wizard that takes you through things, scans your system, finds your files of QuickBooks that are stored locally, and then uploads them into the cloud for you. So kind of a slick automated process to get you set up and get you into the cloud and get you moving. Here's a picture of Liz's profile loading when she accesses the system. So this is kind of a when you enter your username and password via your credentials, a lot of times what we'll do is we'll save a shortcut icon. The setup wizard will save a desktop icon on your computer, and you double click on that icon and it brings you to this screen here where it says, hey Liz, you're logging into the platform. Give us 1 second while we load your profile there. So essentially when you start setting up the firm and you now have created the parent account, then to utilize and get the most out of service, you're going to start wanting to add clients below your top level organization. So when you log into the platform, we have a My Account portal that allows you to kind of manage your full subscription with us, right? So, in this particular example, the paranormal private investigations or the joke names we have in here, that would be the firm. And then as you see, there's those little sub-clients below it that are actually the client organization. So if you have a new client that you're ready to get started on Right Networks, you can simply go through your My Account portal. You can create the client organization right there, and then it asks you for simple stuff, right? The name of the business, the country they're located in, their address, and then essentially what happens is this organization is created. So once the client organization is created, it actually then on the hosted desktop creates a subfolder. So when this company logs in, they now will see a directory or a subfolder that's been created for this smoking ham company, which will allow basically just the client users to access that. So going back to what Jeff said earlier, where he mentioned that clients can only see their own data and not see anyone else on the system or not see the other clients, that's essentially what happens there. It's a directory structure for security reasons where the client can only see their own folder and have no knowledge of anybody else on the system there. And then a lot of times licensing does come up. So it can get confusing in the sales process when you're coming on board. And when you think about it, you got Right Networks users, and then you got QuickBooks users, and then you got licenses associated with users, and you got packages associated with users. It can get confusing. So we'll spend a lot of time on licensing throughout the discovery process with firms and kind of help them understand what licensing means on a hosted environment. And the good news is it's very similar to how things are set up on a desktop environment. We just need a valid license per user to allow you to log in and access the QuickBooks application. If you gave us a license that wasn't valid, when you logged in and double-clicked on QuickBooks, it wouldn't launch for you. It would fail and say you don't have an accurate license there. So in terms of licensing, we do have 3 options with us, right? So you can either buy a QuickBooks license directly through us. So we do sell licenses. We're an Intuit reseller, so we can resell licenses directly to clients. They can lease licenses from us, which is a kind of a cool option. It's a monthly price point that allows folks to essentially rent or subscribe to a QuickBooks license on a monthly basis. And the benefit of that is they have the ability to upgrade to the latest year because they're leasing a license. So at any point in time, they can upgrade their lease to the next year once it comes out and not necessarily be locked into a license they purchased previously. And then there's the BYOL, bring your own license to us. So a lot of folks, when they get started, we already have an existing QuickBooks license. You can bring that onto our platform and host that license with us. So I think firms will have a combination of all 3 of these things probably happening, where they'll buy licenses from us, they'll lease, they'll bring their own licenses. Some firms do standardize it. Jeff, I don't know if you guys have any kind of best practices in the licensing world that you want to chime in here.
No, well, as far as our firm, we have all our own licenses. So we keep 3 years of the license on because of our clients could be in, if they're bringing their own license, we may have a client still on 2018 or something like that. So as a firm, we have our own licenses because we have pro advisor licenses that we use. Most of our clients, I think, Laurie, this is correct, bring their own license. We have very few that are leasing. So they do bring their own. So, but one quick point on this, and I know you have to move on, is that if they have a license and we have our own license, we could both go into the file together, even if they only have a single user license. So
yeah, that's a good call out, Jeff. And it does get confusing. So what Jeff's mentioning there is if he has a single user, say QuickBooks Premier 2020 license on his desktop, and the client has a single user 2020 Pro license, because they're separate licenses, it can still access and they can simultaneously access the file. So Premier and Pro are compatible with each other as long as they're in the same year. Enterprise kind of lives on its own little island and does not talk to Pro and Premier. So it's a good call, Jeff, for sure.
I want to add something there on that going back to licenses. One of the things that's nice about if you do lease a license is that every single year that a new update comes out, you just say, hey, I'm ready for my new version.
Yep.
No additional cost.
Totally.
Yeah.
I think a lot of folks will, a lot of folks like to be on the bleeding edge of software. Some folks say, well, I only stay in it 3 years. So they'll calculate the math and say, well, it's cheaper to just purchase from you guys. So it really probably depends on the client, to be honest. And I'm sure firms, you guys probably all of those clients have dragged their feet when QuickBooks is telling them to upgrade and they're in an unsupported version. They want to hang on to their 2004 QuickBooks license forever, right? So those folks, putting them in a lease might be a benefit because then you don't have to have that purchase conversation with them all the time. So I think it's definitely depending on a per client basis there. And I should call out that we do stay in line with Intuit. So if Intuit is decommissioning a license, like 2017, I believe, is being decommissioned in May, we will also reach out to all our users and let them know by the same date that Intuit decommissions a license, you guys need to upgrade to a later version of QuickBooks because we're no longer able to support it as well. So it's the good news is it keeps clients, upgrading and staying in relatively supported versions of QuickBooks as opposed to those people that kind of drag their heels on that stuff.
Can I add one more thing just about leasing that we've done a couple times? That it's an advantage if you have a client who's coming to you short term, they just have a shoebox, something that needs to be done, but they need access to it. Other people need access. We have set them up 2 or 3 months, even 6 months on Right Networks, short-term seasonal companies, something like that, and done the lease so they're not locked into the purchase for a long period. And there's no contract with Right Networks. If you lease for 1 month, Kevin would hate me saying this, but you could lease for 1 month and then cancel it after a month. There's no penalty to cancel early. So it's an advantage that way just to get them up and running and have access.
Totally. And seasonal workers, right? If you need additional staff during tax season and you want to load up, don't have available QuickBooks licenses, but you want to lease for a couple of months, I mean, it's a real great option there. So yeah, it's a good point, Lori. Here again, I'm back in the My Account kind of interface. So as a client, you have this management portal to manage your subscription with us. And right within the portal, you can either buy and lease licenses or add an existing license, right? So if you click on buy a license, if you click on buy a license or lease a license, the options are all right there for you. Pricing's all right there. The versions you need are all right there. And then we do have a separate sales team that specializes in QuickBooks licensing sales and can answer specific questions about each version and what you might be looking for, what's a good fit, on a per client basis. And then there's also the option to add your own license, right? So if you're right in that tab, click I have my own license, click add license, and then you end up keying in that particular license into your license pool. And then what happens is it's associated with your company, and then you can associate it with specific users. So like Jeff said, they get ProAdvisor licenses every year. He loads those licenses all into our platform and then associates them out to each individual user so that they can have the appropriate licenses. I should call out too, firms are able to basically have users that have multiple versions of QuickBooks and years across their desktop. It's not a perfect world like we're talking about, so clients are not all in the same version or the same year. So when Jeff logs into his desktop, he could see 2020 Premiere, 2019 Premiere, 2018 Premiere, and make sure he has appropriate licenses to support each one of his clients in the platform. And then, so covered licensing, covered setting up the firm, setting up clients. Now to get into a little bit about the packages and kind of what we mean on a per package basis. And we really have tried to oversimplify this stuff. Jeff probably remembers back in the day when we had line items for all the different applications he hosted with us. And it was like a laundry list of things that we would deliver to you guys on a monthly basis. And that was a pain for everybody. So we really have tried to standardize things and make it a lot easier. So within your, again, My Account portal, you can start creating these users where you add users, and essentially you can see from this particular screenshot, you can add users, delete users, you can reset their passwords, you can resend activation emails. So depending on your level or your role within the My Account portal, which we set up with you during the sales process in terms of who can do what and who's a power user and who's just a regular user, you're able to see folks that have activated or not activated or turn on multi-factor authentication, all that good stuff. But as you create users, simple. You just add, first and last name, their email address is the unique identifier they log into the system with. And then you do want to select that role tab, right? So is this an admin? Is this an account administrator? Is this a user? Is this just a support role? So we have, I think, about 4 or 5 different roles that you can set up there, and definitions on each particular role as to who should be what in a company when you're getting kind of set up there. And then you select the package, right? So again, QuickBooks Desktop Cloud, Business Cloud, Application Cloud. I have a slide coming up where I'll go through each package for you guys. And then no package. And again, no package might not make sense at first, but if you're just someone that's going to help administer the account and call in and ask questions about billing and stuff like that, you do not need a hosted desktop, right? You don't need QuickBooks Access to do that. And some of those users can just be a no package setup there. And then once you, as you're doing this, it's going to ask you for a QuickBooks license. So do you want to deploy that license now? And you can either associate one of the licenses you've already keyed in or key in a brand new one. And then essentially each user, you manage packages on. So if you see on the right-hand side, you can see the assigned package on a per user basis. We have 2 QuickBooks clouds and 1 business cloud. And then if you click on the user, you can navigate into their particular drill down, and you can adjust or change packages at that point in time. So you can upgrade or downgrade folks whenever you need to on a per package and per user basis. And then best practices, when you're going through a couple of things, right? Every client's different. You guys know that. We understand or try to understand all types of different clients. Some clients are going to be a whiz with technology and they'll do our setup wizard. They'll click through things. Some folks are going to need a lot more hand holding, and we get that. We totally understand, and we're here for all those different types of clients, right? So we have kind of implementation steps you want to walk through, and then which apps are supported. Getting back to kind of the conversation Jeff had mentioned, in terms of the apps that we support, you really want to do your due diligence with a client and make sure the applications are supported. And that can be done by visiting our website, checking the apps that we have, and or calling us. Our probably second or third question when you're setting up a new client is going to be, do they utilize any other applications that integrate with QuickBooks? Let's think about their workflows. Let's not break anything they're doing now. We want to move their file into the cloud, and we want it to be a seamless transition for these guys. So let's kind of cover all areas and all bases there. So there's a good way to do proper due diligence with these guys, just to make sure you're setting up for a great customer experience, both from our perspective, from the hosted customer, and your perspective as you're bringing your clients on board the cloud there. So diligence and proof of concept, again, you want to map out existing processes and apps with your clients to ensure you understand that they're currently doing, what their workflows are now. You don't want to disrupt anything. You are changing things, yes, but you don't want anything to break in that process, right? So it really is a couple, 2, 3 extra qualifying questions regarding what integrations they have with QuickBooks to kind of dive in there. I'm sure, Jeff, that's something you guys learned early on to make sure that you're kind of going through this process and setting a client up for success.
Yes. So we're at the very front end trying to figure out what apps they're using, and then we're checking. We are definitely checking with Right Networks. We go to the apps center all the time to look. Or we'll call, like you said, and say, do you guys support this? Or are you going to? And we may find out you're kind of testing it already, or we may find out that you don't support it. And then we have to figure out, either it's another option, or there's another program that will do it instead. That's a better option for those. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's a good call out. Typically, I think when we do test applications, they do have to meet a certain criteria with us, and then they go through the security kind of QA process. I think a good percentage of them make it through, and then some, that have red flags in security, we do have to say no to. But to Jeff's point, we usually do have an alternative, right? We can usually say, hey, Jeff, I can't host that particular application, but this one does the same thing. We've worked with these guys for a long time. Our developers and their developers are really close. We understand their update schedule. The app runs great. Try this thing out. And usually that's something that goes pretty well. And some people look to us to make that decision for them, right? They almost look to us as the consultant to say, well, you guys host, a bunch of applications on your side of things. Which apps are the best? Which apps in terms of this specific vertical should I be looking at or should I be recommending to clients? And that's something we can help with there. So, this slide has kind of an outline in the back of applications per kind of vertical and solution that you might be looking for. But again, it's over 300 and constantly growing.
I was going to say, I think most of the top tier apps that we're all familiar with are hosted on Right Networks. The T-Sheets, like you said, Transaction Pro, which Right Networks owns. A lot of the utilities, I'm looking at a lot of these things. AutoFi, which I think you guys own also. So yeah, there's Activate, MySys, some of the inventory products, they're hosted up there. Do you host Fishbowl too?
Not yet. So
okay, all right.
Jeff had to call it the one application that we're still trying to figure out. No, they we love those guys. We've been trying to work closely with them for years to figure it out. There's a couple of technical gotchas in the process that we are working on, but I hope to have that one kind of buttoned up. I would say maybe by the end of this year. Don't quote me on it, but I hope that that's something that we can get down the line shortly.
Right. Avatax is a big one also.
That's true.
Avalara is super popular. The Bill.coms of the world are incredibly popular, right? So Webgility for e-commerce. So there's a lot of Expensify. That's a big one too on the environment. So, and then the way we build out our packages, we try to include some of those more popular ones in the lower packages so that they're easily available at a lower cost for folks. And then introduction and implementation steps. I mean, we'll walk you guys through that when a firm starts with us. We'll walk through what to expect from a firm side of things and then what to expect from a client side of things. But the bottom line is we're here to help. I walk through a setup wizard that can automate the process for you, but we have a full team that's ready to go, answering calls that can hop right on there. They can remote share. Jeff and Lori have been working with our support staff for a long time, and they're absolutely top notch. It's one of the best departments in our company, and we just think support in this type of process, even though it's the same application that they've always utilized, and we wouldn't claim to be QuickBooks experts. We're not going to answer accounting questions for Jeff's clients, but if they are having any type of technical issue, uploading files, printing, scanning to the environment, logging in for the first time, those are the calls that we take on a regular basis and are more than happy to help with, and literally could just take over your system and do the whole thing for you. So we're absolutely here to help.
Yeah, one of the things, Kevin, that's great about Right Networks is there's actually a help icon on your desktop that you can click on that and start an instant chat with support. So you don't even have to call them if you didn't need to. And then, like you said, they'll take over if you need them to.
It's funny, the chat, it's a good point, Jeff. The chat we have seen absolutely blow up. I think we launched it a few years ago. Didn't know how much traction we get. I think, in this industry, a lot of folks like to get people on the phone and work through problems that way. But that chat department has absolutely blown up fast, and they are extremely busy. And I think it's like you said, putting the icon on the desktop, it's instant, right? As opposed to calling in and hitting a specific number to get to someone directly. But chat has been huge, and it's a huge asset for us. But it's a good call up. And then getting into the billing relationship. So this is kind of interesting. I think one thing we like to do is be really flexible on this aspect of things. We want to make sure that we're catering to our specific firms. So we basically utilize two paths here. So you have the ability to it's all month to month, right? So no long-term contracts. We know that you guys are setting up new clients and we're setting up firm users, and you might have to drop them. You might have to add more. It just doesn't make sense in our industry to lock people into contracts, which a lot of folks do. And we've always looked down on that, right? So, and no minimums. I think the one shocking part is we scale from sole proprietors all the way up to there's about 3 or 4 top 10 firms in the country that utilize us for thousands of clients, right? So it can be anywhere from one user all the way up to literally thousands of users on the system underneath one organization. And the billing relationships can be wholesale versus direct billing. So what I mean by that is we essentially can bill, I think in Jeff's case, we bill Jeff, and then Jeff will bill his individual clients directly, right? So I think that goes to more so how the firm setup and how they bill the clients now, if they're already billing them on a monthly retainer, a lot of firms will bundle in the right network services and the value add that we offer. And then it kind of becomes part of Jeff's offer, right? He brings on a new client, and, if they work with Jeff's firm, they get all his accounting work he's going to do for him, make it up audit stuff or anything else. And they get to access their accounting software in the cloud. Jeff uses a service that backs it up on a regular basis. And Jeff has this great support team that you can call into. So we almost become part of the firm's overall offer. We do become part of the firm's overall offer. And then there's the other one, which we've seen spike up, which is the direct billing relationship, where it says, I'm the firm, but I don't want to manage the billing for my clients with you guys. I'm just going to set them up, have you write networks, bill them directly, and then I'm going to nest them below my subscription on the system, right? So in that particular kind of setup, you still will have access to the clients, but Right Networks is managing the billing. Jeff, I think you guys still manage the billing we bill you.
Yeah. You bill us, and we, wrap it into our, fixed fee pricing to our clients. And one of the reasons why we do that, because if they go directly, if we just say, hey, this is a great option for you, they may not be set up under our umbrella, and because we wouldn't be setting them up if they'd go direct, and then we wouldn't have access to their files unless they create a user for us. So it's better to wrap it up under ours and then just sell it as part of our monthly fee.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, totally. And I think every firm's, different in that sense where, I would say there's probably pros and cons of both. We don't really in the discovery or sales process steer a firm one way or the other. It's really kind of up to them. With Jeff managing the billing for the clients, I will say that he is the authority. He is the customer at that point. So if a customer of his is looking to add another user, change something or else, if Jeff is the one managing the billing, we go to Jeff to get authorization and all that stuff, which I think some folks like, and some folks think it's kind of a nuisance because they don't care and they want them to be billed directly and change their bills as they please. So it's almost like who our relationship is with and who is our customer. I mean, they're all our customers and we'll service them, but Jeff would be the authority in that place because he manages the billing for everybody. So we go through Siegel Solutions for any changes. Getting into just back into my account again, there's another tab here that can focus on billing, right? So if you have clients that are set up like Jeff's and you say, wow, I do not want to manage the billing for this guy. He never pays me on time or who knows, right? There's just some type of issue there, or you're changing kind of how you bill your clients and don't want to deal with it anymore. You're able to navigate into the billing tab and convert clients to direct billed accounts. And that's as easy as going in here. And the billing tab does have, depending on the user you are, a bunch of details and information about, your estimated bill breakdowns, your past invoices, your detailed billing report. I think firms like Jeff will utilize something like our detailed billing report to then figure out what to bill out to their clients, what packages they're on, what rates they're at, what they're utilizing. Do they lease a license? Do they not lease a license? So we try to provide all that additional information in there for firms so they're able to successfully kind of bill their clients there. So, and this is just walking you through if you wanted to convert a client to a direct paid account. So if you're having issues collecting money from Jeff, you can convert them right through here and we'll bill them for you and take care of that. So, but we try to really, try to make it flexible. And a lot of firms have both. Jeff's firm's kind of taking a stance. Well, they'll manage the billing for everybody, but a lot of firms can say, listen, I work with these clients so closely and I do all this other stuff for them. I'm going to bill them monthly. And you know what, these guys, I'm kind of just selling them the hosted solution, or I go in there once in a while. I'm going to nest them below me so I still have access to their files, but Right Networks, you can bill them directly. So it doesn't have to be, an either or situation. It's a both situation for sure.
Yeah, Kevin, there are some clients that they kind of come through me to get the hosting. Yep. So we may not really do any work for them, but I still put it under us because, they may call me or I may check in with them and they say, hey, oh, by the way, we're having a problem with something. And I could say, great, we'll log in and do what we need to do. So we may not work on them on a regular basis, but it's there for us to kind of log in and do it when we need to. So
Yeah, totally. No, it makes sense. And I think, right. It all depends on the particular client and what's going to be a good fit for you guys. And then we do offer volume discounts, right? So if you are a customer and, you're essentially a firm that's wholesaling us, you can get, price breaks where we'll offer you a price, then you can kind of bill your client, whatever, or bundle it in with any of the other services you guys do there too. So, and then just to get back into the billing tab, you can download invoices. We like to make everything transparent. Folks want to know where they're at. We do proration. So when you add users, it can get a little bit confusing if it's mid-month and what that looks like. So the detailed reports are in there, the invoices are in there, and then the estimated bill breakdown is in there. And again, it depends on your role in my account to be able to see a lot of this stuff. This would be a particular folk who has billing administration rights or an elevated user that could see some of this stuff here. And then to get into our packages. So last thing here is walking you guys through each one of our standardized packages. So I'll start, it's kind of backwards, but I'll start right to left. So the QuickBooks Desktop Cloud is really the essential package that I talked about earlier that includes hosting your QuickBooks application with us. It includes the Google Chrome browser, so if you have to get out to any web browser or utilize any import functionality, that's there. It's got a PDF viewer that's available. And then it comes also with the TS Print application and the TS Scan application. Those are third-party apps that we host on our side that allow folks to scan documents directly right into Right Networks or print directly from Right Networks. So we like to have it kind of operate like it's your local desktop and make it as seamless and easy as possible. So that's kind of what those applications are there. And then it also includes 5 gigabytes of storage there. And then as you start to kind of move upstream, the Business Cloud package is the middle tier package. And again, that everything from the last one, your hosted QuickBooks, your 24/7 support, backup, security. But then we start to mix in some of these more popular productive apps on our system. That's where you get the Bill.coms, the Expensifys, Autofy, Tally, Avalara. So we kind of chose our most popular applications and bundled them into that middle package. And then it also gives you access to Microsoft Excel. So big differentiator in each one of these packages are Microsoft products as well as third-party application solutions. So the Business Cloud gives you the power to export to Excel from QuickBooks within the hosted environment, and then some of those key other third-party applications there. And then the last one upstream is Application Cloud, and this gives you access to really everything. So everything from the first 2 packages and then all the applications in our Right Networks ecosystem. So that slide I showed you before that had 300 plus applications on there. You have access to all of those as long as you have a subscription to those applications, and you can deploy those right on your desktop and host those with us there. And it also gives you Microsoft Office, which is like Jeff was talking about, Outlook, PowerPoint, Access, really kind of the whole kit and caboodle from a Microsoft Office component standpoint, and then 50 gigabytes of storage in that package as well. So, so moving probably again right to left, I would say 50% of our customers are probably in QuickBooks Desktop Cloud, and then the next 50% is probably split in between Application Cloud and Business Cloud. Most firm users will see in Business Cloud it up because they utilize that export to Excel feature on a regular basis as well too, and some of those other popular third-party applications. I think that's all I had, guys. So any questions popping up there, Liz or Heather?
What I love to do right now is we have a poll. So I'd love to launch the poll. If you would like Kevin or someone, oops, wrong button, or someone else from Right Networks to reach out to you with more information, go ahead and let us know. And then what I will do later today is I'll send along your email information over to Kevin and the team, and someone will reach out to you to get you started.
Oh, that's great. There's been so much fantastic conversation over in chat. So Jeff and Lori have been busy answering questions. Lots of questions about how you use your licenses and how you use your folder structure. So really good conversation over there. And one of them that, while this is up right now, one of the conversations that was in chat that I feel like is really important to point out is it was about, somebody was saying, Anne was talking about the folder structure that she uses is Smart Vault, and being able to say, I've got my mapped drive whenever I'm working on my desktop computer on the ground, but then also inside of Right Networks, she's got that same Smart Vault mapped drive location available there too. And so, essentially all of her documents for her clients are stored in both locations. So really good point. I think that was a nice one to talk about. And then, there's lots of questions about the licenses. So really good conversation.
Raul had a question. Can additional storage be purchased separately? Is that even an issue?
And I don't think that that's an issue. So in my Right Networks, I have got tons and tons and tons of QuickBooks backups and archived versions of QuickBooks backups. And I don't know that there is a storage limit. And if there is one, I can honestly say that I'm nowhere near it. And I've got a ton of years of Right Networks backups there. Jeff, I would say that you're probably in the same boat.
Yeah.
And have you hit a max?
We ran out.
Did we run out, Laurie?
We a few, because remember, we have about 15 years plus in there. So we did run out. I won't say we ran out. We were feeling that we were close a few years ago, but then we sort of, just like you would purge any file cabinet, we went in and looked at, one thing that happens is if a client leaves, their folder stays under your umbrella. They just don't have access to it. So we started to look at, through the years, who wasn't a client of ours anymore. And we did our own purging of just taking everything that was, that wasn't active and just bringing it down onto an internal drive.
Yeah, but we never had a roadblock where we hit something and said, hey, you ran out of space. That's never happened. We looked at the, how it shows your drives, and it shows how full they are. Yeah. We were getting to the end, but I think I may have reached out to Kevin, and they said, no, don't worry about it. You're not gonna max out. So
yeah, if you look at let me go here, the previous slide. So when the storage is down there, if you have, like Jeff, you have 150 something users, right? And most of them are probably in the higher tiers. When you sum all that together, like that is a ton of storage. So the little trick we did, to be honest with you guys, is we tried to build enough cushion in those packages because we don't really care about storage. That's not the business we're in. We want you guys to be able to store, everything you can on our system. So it's something we'll monitor, to where if someone's uploading 200 gigs of vacation videos and stuff, that it just seems like it's not necessary. But we always will monitor how much storage somebody has on the system. But we built those packages so that you or us don't have to think about that, to be honest.
Yeah, because I think ours is like a terabyte at least. It's not even in the gigs anymore.
Yeah, you guys, with the amount of users you have and the amount of packages, I wouldn't doubt it. Yeah, good question though.
And so the other thing is, you could always move stuff off it if you had to, like Laurie mentioned. You could always grab files and bring it down to some local storage if you wanted to. So
we have a really good question. So the question is can you essentially work in QuickBooks at the same time inside of Right Networks? And the answer is yes. And so you're not going to have data integrity issues. You're going to both be able, as long as you've got enough user license, you're going to be able to both work inside of Right Networks at the same time, updating and working, performing your own tasks. And there's no issue. You don't have to take turns as long as there's enough user licenses.
Right. Yeah. It becomes one live file, so that you're not passing a bunch of versions back and forth of these files and which one's the latest version, and that headache that firms go through. So simultaneously accessing the file in our system is not a problem at all.
Great question. Well, I'm going to say we are at our time. So you want to go ahead and advance the next slide, Kevin? I'll let you be our Vanna. And,
sure.
And then go ahead and go to that one. So let's go ahead and share with everybody that right now, Right Networks realizes there's a lot of people who are trying to get into the Right Networks system. And so to say thank you for joining us today, they are offering this 20% off to everybody who's joined us today or watching this recording through the end of April. So if you'd like to take advantage of that, all you have to do is just contact Right Networks and mention Happy Hour, and you get to take advantage of that 20% off. So fantastic. Thank you for doing that. And then
Thank you
want to
so
go ahead?
much.
Absolutely. And you want to go ahead and advance the next one, because I want to tell everybody when we're doing this again. Here's where you can find us and our recordings. And then Heather, you want to go to the next one? Oh, sorry, Kevin. You're my Vanna. Sorry.
No, I'm not doing a good job. I'm trying.
That's okay. That's okay. And then this one right here. So session 2. So optimizing your workspace, a day in the life of Right Networks, powered firms. So April 7th. So next week we'll be here, same time, same place. So we hope that you join us, because today was really laying that foundation. And then next week we're building the house, and everybody's going to be showing up to work inside that house. You're laughing, but
No, it's going to be great. We're really looking forward to it.
I know, I love it. So how do you work inside the Right Networks environment? And then lastly will be that April 14th episode, all about troubleshooting and tips. So thank you to everyone for joining us today.
Yes, thank you so much, Kevin and Lori and Jeff. This has been amazing. Thank you to everyone who joined us today, and we'll see you guys next week for part 2.
Awesome. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Bye.
Take care.
Thanks.